Well, we're down at the dyno this morning to test out a bunch of different intakes. I'm really interested to see how well different intakes perform with this 1.5 turbo engine. We have the Mishimoto intake, we have the Takeda intake, we have the AEM and the Injen cold air intakes, which can also be configured as short ram intakes. So let's see how it goes. For this test we have a 25 horsepower fan to make sure there's an ample supply of air to the engine bay and to the intercooler. I baselined the car with the stock intake and Hondata's plus 6 psi boost calibration. The intake differences are going to show a lot better if you're requesting more air through them, so this is why we're testing at the high levels of boost. And we've got a pretty high level of consistency. I've done 3 runs here and we're getting variations of maybe 1 to 2 horsepower. Let's have a look at the stock intake, which is the lower blue line versus the Mishimoto. The maximum difference is 3.5 horsepower, but it's only over a very narrow rev range. Most of the rest of the Mishimoto versus stock is pretty much identical under about 5,000 RPMs. Under 5,000 RPM, the short ram intakes, which are the dotted lines, are very, very close to the stock airbox, which is the solid blue line. Above 5,000 RPM, the short ram intakes pick up around about 3 horsepower from 5,000 to red line 6,400 RPM. Let's have a look at the difference between a cold air intake and a short ram intake. Differences are not that much, but the cold air intake is worth around 5 to 6 horsepower at the top end of the rev range over that of the short ram intake. This Civic has 2 intake air temperature sensors, one on the mass airflow sensor very close to the air filter and the second on the charge pipe just before the throttle body. This allows us to see the change in temperature and how well the intercooler is working. In the case of the short ram intake, you can see the IAT1 coming into the filter at 111 Fahrenheit, but IAT2 at 100.4 Fahrenheit. Cold air is always better because cold air is denser, more oxygen molecules, and can also help the turbo spool a little bit better. However, for some climates in which there are a lot of water around, a cold air intake may not be the best choice. Okay, so the results are in. The stock intake has the blue line here. The Injen cold air intake is the pink line just above, and the AEM cold air intake is the orange line right on top. But it's very, very close. The cold air intakes are better than any short ram intake, and any of the short ram intakes are very, very close to the stock intake. So there you have it. Cold air intakes are the best. Good flowing short ram intakes are the next, but stock intake is pretty good, and most of the gains you see are right on the top of the rev range above 5,000 RPM, where you're going to see the biggest differences. So there you have it, the most comprehensive test of intakes for the 1.5 Turbo Civic to date. And the wonderful thing about it is with your FlashPro, you'll just open up the software, choose the intake that you have, choose plus 6 psi calibration, install, and away you go. Couldn't be easier.